Hello again, everyone. We've got this impressively disappointing and disappointingly impressive. Or I don't know how to phrase what I'm after, but I want this deck to be very good. I want to enjoy and appreciate this deck for more than just being kind of a little joke. And so far in testing, this has been almost painful to work with. But I think a lot of that is coming from just a bit of an issue with my own personal playstyle. So, as some of you may have noticed in the Shrink Ray deck the first time I put it up, the deck is lacking on like an effective kill condition. You have the Sense the Sin, but this is like an extra 10 bleed in the deck if you happen to use it that way. Again, it's a nice little intercept card. The biggest problem the deck has is, again, you're stuck on these Baronnesses and this Maleficias. You need these. You have to have these because without them, there is no deck. The deck is functionally dead. Additionally, you need a few cards to keep yourself alive. You need these Party Out of Bounds, another 7 cards that have to go into it, and another 6 cards that have to go into your little Gehenna package, which sometimes isn't quite enough. The game of VTES often has vampires around 10 capacity, which means that it's going to take 2 Baronnesses to play them. With only 2 of your Baali, that does make it a little more difficult to accomplish your objective. So what can we do here? How can we fix this? Some options I've been thinking of are to go with more Baali. If we sort by group, we have a few others within our grouping range. There's Mary the Black, who I'm not really a fan of. She's a 7 cap, and that means she's above our sort of window. 7's a bit much, especially because Johto can't play any Tend the Flocks to her. The other one is Barbaro. Now, Barbaro is a little rough. Again, another vampire with inferior obfuscate. For people that are supposed to connect with the powers of hell, these guys sure don't know how to stay hidden well. I suppose that comes with the territory and the fact that they have presence. But Barbaro also has like functionally no real ability. The turning somebody infernal could be useful from time to time, but it takes 2 counters to do it, so it's iffy. He is 5 cap though, so it goes really nicely with Sargon's cap. And he can most certainly play some of the cards we have at their alternate versions. He can use Bollocks for the hand strike. He can use Diversion for the range Steel Blood. And of course, he can use Slams in the Netherworld. He does have all at inferior, just like Sargon does. Which is, again, it's really sometimes rough to only be playing Forgotten Labyrinth at inferior. Now, we could go all in on Smoke and Mirrors since they're fundamentally the same card without the blood cost, but it's been good having the option to do both. Outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of other choices that we have here aside from like going with a much larger vampire and then trying to play the rest of the crypt around playing the larger vampire. Because we could go with Huitz, or we could go with Angra. Angra is interesting because it does have the extra shrinkage ability. You could also do a little bit of the Angra with Sargon thing. If Sargon performs an action, Angra can get an extra stealth. Little on the fence here. I really like Johto's discard ability. I really think that as a focus of the deck, you're going to want to churn through cards because once you get enough Maleficias, you really don't need more. Again, Evil Eye is really good at Superior, but it is very limiting. It does not replace. You have to have Superior, and getting to Superior can kind of be painful. Drawing 1 and 9 cards is not hard often in the first 4 turns of the game. It's very hard, though, having somebody have the second level of it. So these are some things that I've been trying to beat around, or the idea that maybe the crypt as it is isn't good enough. Maybe we go into a different crypt. We do have a middle crypt between the 4s and 5s that could work. We could put little babies into play and use them for bleeders, and then we shrink everybody, but the problem is we're going to be subject to all of our Gehenna cards, so that's not really an option. We have Sky Without, Obfuscate, no. Marine is a 6 cap with a decent ability. Being able to, unlock after playing an Unleash Hell's Fury, obviously very useful. I'm sorry, being able to get a pool. But the rest of it's kind of pricey. We don't have a lot of cheapness, and then there's always the Horde. And I don't like the Horde. But we could narrow down the deck with the Horde. Play, no more Diversion, no more Bollocks. Just kind of change things up. Try to go a slightly different strategy with it. But we also lose Tend the Flock without playing a larger vampire. It could be Giotto and just a bunch of hordes. Maybe we turn all the Sargon. Well, we can't. The problem here is the crypting. I don't know why my brain started to do that, but it's part of the fun of this is getting to see my mistakes in creative process. But going the Horde, we could go with like any number of the other vampires here. We could go with Zephyr, but Vote's probably going to be useless, or Anazir. But the Horde doesn't have anything else to go well enough along with it. Arishad is also good, but again, I would like to have something with effects that are going to be relevant. So my lean here remains on Giotto and his incredible discard ability that just allows you to get rid of the cards you don't need and get to your Gehenna cards faster. You kind of need these Gehenna cards out, and the goal almost of this is to get to the end of the game. You're really just trying to churn and survive in order to get to the end of the game, and then pick the players off as quickly as possible. The problem is often you're fighting the time limit, or you're fighting a bit of a losing battle if you can't get enough of them on opponents' vampires. I'm also not super satisfied with I Am Legion. I was really hoping I would be, but as it has been so far, the gain of pool isn't as relevant, and since you're already getting the unlocks from Barrenness, this just ends up being something that kind of throws you off, or something that you're like waiting to play for the most optimal situation. It would almost be better if this was just either Forgotten Labyrinth or Smoke and Mirrors. Psalm of the Damned has been very largely irrelevant. I wanted this card to be really good, not been really happy with it overall. So yeah, I'm also not too happy with Party Out of Bounds. The 2 votes hasn't been as relevant as I'd hoped it would be. But I am still like early enough into the deck that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a damning thing for it. I did punch in an Unleash Hell's Fury in here, which I didn't have in the original version of the deck. I'm also not sure about Libertas, since we're not doing a lot of bleeding and we're not really concerned if people are ending combat. This is maybe not the best card here. So this is also on the kind of maybe list. And there's the idea of bringing this up to 90 cards, popping in a couple more Malfecias, maybe 1 or 2 more Baronesses, and then filling out the rest of the deck with extra stealth and a few extra other cards to try to help it out, since we are going to be burning through them with Giotto. I really am feeling the Barbaro thing. I think we might go with dropping... I don't know. I'm hesitant to drop another copy of Giotto, but maybe drop a copy of Giotto, maybe drop a copy of Sargon and run a pair of Barbaros in here. Just to have a 3rd vampire to perform actions with. You're often not tapped because of Barrenness, so you're really not running through blood too much, and having another target to hit with the Tend the Flock is really nice. The problem I worry about is if we look at like our, where is it? Let's have a sample draw. No. I thought there was, where is it? There we go. Yeah, so we can get a couple of sample draws here. Let's make sure we're on the right deck. So we got a Johto there, miss, and then if we draw 1, 2, we'd really be hurting there to not get Johto till that late. This is also pretty bad. What do we draw after that? We get a Barbaro. Try again. So maybe it's not so bad. We'll try to play this out as this, I think, for the next time we play. I'm going to debate the 90 cards still, and maybe if you guys can give me a little feedback before then, it'd be really nice, but I Am Legion is probably not sticking around. I'm going to drop this down to 1 for now and think about what I want to replace it with, and then really want to find a better option for Party Out of Bounds, but I feel like I might be just overlooking something that I just don't normally think about. So let me know what you think here. I could always use the feedback, and could, in this case, kind of really use the feedback. So thanks so much for your time. Take care.